It's good to be back. Another week, another string of episodes of the Daily Thread. I'm already exhausted. I can tell you that much, but it's good to be back.
No, Wilson. So it's a long weekend. You know, not that it's so long. It's that a lot of things happen over the weekend.
That's true. And one of the things that I do want to mention is today's sponsor of this podcast is Preferred Van and Car Service. You know, you always want me or your other kids to drive you places.
No, just to the airport.
Just to the airport,
pick us up.
You know what? Maybe we'll do that, or you can go ahead and give Yankee Geller a call.
Okay,
He's got some nice SUVs, really great service.
So I could ask him to pick him up from the airport instead of Naki?
You could ask him to pick you up from the airport. You could ask him to really drive you anywhere, honestly. Let's say you want to go out to the city for a dinner or a night out. Call Yankee Geller. You know, his number is 732-887-3473. We'll have a link in the description where you can reach out to him. And, of course, you can email him at preferredvanservice@gmail.com. That's preferredvanservice@gmail.com. They are our new friends here at the Daily Thread. You'll be hearing about them each day this week. And go show them some love because they're supporting what we do. So we're going to support what they do.
Great.
So we have a string of stories that we're going to mention today. First, I want to start off. I was at the Kinnus Hashluchim last night. And, boy, was that some fun. Instantly, we walked into that room. First of all, it was freezing outside. It was like 27 degrees in Edison. I don't know if it was like that over here.
It was cold. It was cold.
It was freezing cold
and windy.
And what can I say? It's just incredible to be in a room with over 6,000 people, maybe 7,000. I don't know.
This is the dinner season, as we mentioned a couple of times last week. But this is a world-class dinner.
Yeah. It was, the company was amazing. The food was amazing. Got to meet some really cool people. Of course, if you're following the Daily Thread on WhatsApp, you've seen all those pictures and videos that we posted last night. One interesting interaction that took place was actually a couple of interesting ones, but one was, we were sitting there watching a video and we look over and we saw somebody that, me and Yochanan knew, Davidi Crombie, who's he's a music producer, he's a manager. I think he manages Ishay Rebo in Eretz Yisrael. Mm-hmm. So he was doing a lot with the music last night there because it's a big production. And sitting next to him was Akiva.
Really?
Akiva, a new up-and-coming artist out of Israel. And nobody was like going over to him. I don't know if anybody didn't recognize him, but we went over, we got a picture with them. Really, really cool people.
Put the picture up here.
Yeah, we'll put the picture up here. Another interesting one is that we were walking towards the stage and someone came over to me and said, I listened to your podcast. I said, oh, nice. Thank you so much. He said, I live in Mauritius. Mauritius is an island in the middle of in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
Really?
It's a 20-hour flight away. Wow. Said you have internet there.
Of course.
He said we have 5G.
If you don't have 5G, they have Starlink from what's his name? Elon Musk.
It's incredible. Mauritius. I think that was the most out there place where so shout out to the Shliach Mauritius. I really appreciate it. And I met so many amazing people last night. They did a siyum on 36 Sefer Torah. I don't know if you've ever been to a siyum of more than one Sefer Torah being written. They finished the completion of 36 Sefer Torah, and I believe they did a girl of which Chabad houses the Sefer Torah go to.
Really?
Yeah.
They finished all 36.
They finished all 36. They wrote the last ice in all 36. I got to say hello to Rav Yudel Krinsky, Moshe Kolarski, Mendy Kolarski, George Rohr, Rochelle Mordechai Rabashkin, Rabbi Shais Taub. It was really
all stars.
Yeah. Really incredible
all stars
people.
of the Chabad movement that are really are the engine of the world Jewish community.
Really, it's unbelievable what took place there last night, and I was just very, very happy to be there. And what can I say? Chabad unites Klal Yisrael. There's a table there from the OU. I saw Rabbi Howard, Rabbi Bain, Josh Josephs. The whole OU delegation there. Rabbi Gedalia Zlotowitz from Art School was there. So Chabad unites Klal Yisrael, and it was really an amazing event. So, interestingly, I walked into shul, and we'll get to the first story of today. I walked into shul on Shabbos morning, and there was a little bit of a buzz, and a few of the Hatzalah guys were talking, and I said, "Hey guys, what's going on?" Mm-hmm. And usually, if it's a Hatzalah call, they can't really say much, so I get the point. But they said there was an alert that went out last night that there is a credible threat against synagogues in New York. That there's a guy who purchased ammunition, he purchased weapons, and he made a threat against synagogues. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to not sit near the door today, although I ended up to sit next to the door. But that was something that we ended up turning on our phones to after Shabbos to really get a unfortunate glimpse at what was happening. The headlines was 2 arrested in threats to New York Jewish community. 2 were arrested on Saturday at Pennsylvania Station. The police say they seized a large hunting knife and a firearm with 30-round magazine. Commissioner Sewell, she tweeted, today we're extremely grateful for the NYPD investigators and our law enforcement partners who uncovered and stopped a threat to our Jewish community. This morning's arrests in Penn Station and weapon seizures are proof of their vigilance and collaboration that keeps New Yorkers safe. Definitely frightening.
Well, that just punctuates the fact that despite all the talk in the news about hatred and discrimination and racism, that at the end of the day, it's the Jewish community that is a target in most of the situations where there is hate actions and these types of things taking place. It happens against other ethnic groups, of course, but nowhere near as much as it is targeted to the Jewish community.
It's honestly, it was frightening. It was frightening knowing that, until they had caught this person which I think was around 11 a.m., 12 p.m. on Shabbos morning. I think from what I read, they arrested them in Penn Station. In Penn Station. I don't know where they were heading.
They were arriving into Penn Station or leaving from Penn Station.
I don't know where they're heading, but you know what? Give a lot of credit to the NYPD. Give a lot of credit to the MTA officers that they recognized and they noticed this individual and they took action quickly.
Right. Well,
it's another heads up to all the shuls, honestly, in the communities to make sure you have armed security outside.
Yeah. Most of the shuls, I mean, we shouldn't have said it on the podcast, but probably most don't. But a lot of do have.
Why wouldn't a shul have armed security?
I don't know. That's a good issue. Why don't they have security? Maybe I think what I heard from not from this particular instance, but in other instances over the years when the subject of security comes up, a lot of shuls here and not just here, but in Borough Park and Flatbush, probably in Lakewood and other major densely populated from areas. Most of the shuls are on homes. You can't tell they're a shul from the outside. So a shul that you can tell has a big sign and a big Magen David or whatever, or big Hebrew lettering that could be easily identified as a shul. I mean, how is a guy bent on doing evil going to know that there's a shul in a house in Borough Park or Flatbush? You can't really tell. Unless you sit there and observe, you have to have.
Yeah, but I'm not taking my chances. I'm not
suggesting that you take any chances. But I spoke with Shulam Klein of the RNSP, which is the Rockaway Nassau Security Patrol, and I followed his WhatsApp thread, and he was in touch with the police department beginning late Friday night, and they immediately sent their volunteers out to all the shuls, those that have paid security and those that don't. And the police department was alerted, and they sent out patrol cars. And,
in a tweet from Snap Anti-Semitism, the NYPD, he said, arrested Matthew Maher, 22, and Christopher Brown, 21, in Penn Station. One of the men was wearing a swastika armband, and he was in position, like I said, with a firearm and 30 rounds of ammunition and a hunting knife. They're definitely planning no good. It's disgusting, to hear the part about the swastika. Not like the other part isn't disgusting, but the people like this exist with such hatred inside is scary. And thank God, thank God that everything was averted.
Listen, we need to be alert. You know what they say? If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
Don't think you're just saying something and it's nothing. That's a natural reaction. If you see something, you have to alert the police or security and let them check it out and determine that it's something or nothing.
Absolutely. We want to wish a happy birthday to the President of the United States, Joe Biden, turning 80 years old. He's the first president to hit the 80 mark, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he turned 80 yesterday, I think, on Sunday. And I did an article that just finished before I came in here this morning, called "Sages for the Ages" about different age groups of different leaders. I mentioned, as you'll see in the article later this week, that there's a minimum age. For example, Congresswoman AOC, Alessandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's not allowed to be president of the United States, even if she wanted to run.
Well, thank God for that.
But she's only 33 years old, because you have to be, according to the Constitution, you have to be 35 years old
35.
to become president of the
United
United
election
States.
Is 1 month. 1 month before she turns 35 this year.
I don't think she's a serious candidate in any event. That's not the point. The point is that the talk is there should be a cap on what age. Up until what age you can be president of the United States. Absolutely. And the suggestions has been made, and I've heard, that the cap should be at 75. If the cap was 75, in the coming 2024 election, neither Joe Biden or Donald Trump would be allowed to run.
That might be the best thing for the country.
If you have a minimum age, why can't you have a maximum age? And then I also compared it to, we met Avram Avinu in last week's parsha, 2 parshas ago. When he first realized there's a God in the world, he was 75. When he had a bris, he was 99. When he had Yitzchak, he was 100. So
there shouldn't be a cap.
What?
So then there shouldn't be a cap.
That's for biblical leaders. That's the type of person you are,
Lauren Spicer tweeted, Joe Biden turns 80 years old tomorrow, and he's going to become the oldest sitting president in history. Joe is the opposite of the phrase, age ain't nothing but a number.
It's a challenging situation for him, and I was thinking about it over the weekend, and I don't see who the heir apparent is to the Democratic Party. They only chose Joe Biden to begin with because things in 2020 were going in the direction of either Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, and they desperately, the Democratic apparatus.
Bernie's been quiet.
They didn't want them. They didn't want them because
too extreme.
Let me say this: as bad as Joe Biden is, they would have been much worse.
Yeah, they're definitely.
You can agree or disagree with that.
Definitely more radical.
Politics are
definitely more radical.
But what does the future hold for the Democratic Party? They don't have any real
Cory Booker
leadership.
Cory Booker, maybe
He's been there. Maybe
Phil Murphy's going to make a run for it. Maybe, who knows?
They got a long way to go. These guys. They don't have that gravitas. They don't have that kind of stature.
Speaking of the president discussion, some saying that Twitter is dead. Some are saying Twitter is alive. But I'll tell you one thing. Twitter is definitely making headlines because Elon Musk over the weekend reinstated Donald Trump's Twitter account. And he received all of his 81 million plus followers back. And, not instantly. It took overnight for it to come. And why did this happen? Elon Musk put a poll on Twitter, which he let run for over 24 hours. Should I reinstate former President Donald Trump?
It was very close.
52% said yes. 48% said no. 15 million people voted. 134 million people saw the poll. 15 million people voted. President Donald Trump is back on Twitter, and he hasn't tweeted yet. Well, he has not tweeted yet.
He said originally that if he was allowed back on, he wasn't going to go. Don't forget he has his own platform.
I heard something. I don't know if it's true, but I heard that he has a contract with Truth Social that his tweets need to be exclusively on Truth Social for 6 hours before it goes anywhere else.
I thought he is Truth Social.
Do I know? I don't know.
I don't know.
All I know is no one can tell Donald Trump what to do.
He also reinstated Kanye West.
They reinstated Kanye West, and one of his first tweets was, Shalom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, is that ever patronizing?
Yeah. And you know what? There is videos this morning, which is really breaking. There's videos this morning that came out that suggest that Kanye West is making a run for president in 2024.
Yes.
That should be fun.
That should mess up the whole system if it's not already a mess. But, good luck to him. Anybody that could put it together has the support out there that feels they have a base of support should go ahead. If they can put it together, they should absolutely run.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and dive into the inbox. We got a lot of feedback.
The mailbox.
Okay, so this recent episode definitely got us the most feedback that we have gotten. That is the episode about rejection, talking about schools and rejection and Hashluchim. A couple of suggestions I heard, which I kind of liked over the weekend. And again, we were not talking about people not having a place. I would like to say that most people at the end of the day have a place to be. The real discussion was, girls and boys having to be pushed into places like they're pieces of meat, like they know that they're being treated the way they're being treated. They know that they're not being accepted. So we said last night on our status on the Daily Thread, should we be discussing this rejection topic again? And unanimously, it was overwhelming response of people saying yes. And one of the responses that we did get was yes. As someone who has been rejected by the base Yaakov system, this conversation is very validating. Even though it's been a while and I'm a successful medical student, that rejection still creeps up on me now. And then the schools need to know how hard it is hurting people. Someone said, I remember when I was back in 8th grade, when they were mailing out acceptance letters, my cousin and I applied to the same school, and we had our interviews on the same day. I got my letter, and I got accepted after 3 days. My cousin didn't get hers for 2 weeks. I never forget the look in her eyes. She realized that I got in so much earlier than her, and I kind of saw a spark fade away in her eyes. I think it's someone else writes, I think it's definitely a conversation that should be spoken about and developed more. For myself, I was rejected to a high school for 9th grade, and I applied again for 10th grade, and I got rejected again, and then I had to be pushed in. Not something that does good to anyone, but especially a teenager. Baruch Hashem, I'm doing great now, but it definitely affected my self-confidence then. I'll tell you, and just keep swiping, there are tens and tens of messages just like that.
Okay, so let's back up for a second. Let's analyze that. What do you want to do about the competitive nature of life? You want to do away with the competition that exists in life naturally?
No, I think that when it comes to acceptance, especially into high school, and some might argue that it should be for seminary as well, no acceptance letters get mailed out until every single person has a place to go.
Well, how do you know who has a place and who doesn't have a place? You're talking about
there's
so many hundreds of different schools and even seminaries in Eretz Yisrael. There's so many of them. You're asking if you're asking about creating new agencies that monitor this type of flow of people traffic.
Is it not worth it? Is it not worth it? We see the damage that it causes. Is it not worth it?
I don't know.
I don't
want to disagree with you because it's a good cause and you're coming from a good place. But life experience damages people. I got to tell you, and the challenges to crawl back and to fight back and to overcome. That's the whole tachlis of creation. I would say not to be rejected. But what I like what you said last week about the way you intermingled the school rejections with shidduchim rejections.
It leads. I think it leads later on. Someone did respond. They wrote on the flip side. What about the overworked heads of schools? I grew up giving my entire life for a school, parents running a school, trying their absolute best, being honest and taking flack. They have so much responsibility as it is. Now they're the ones to take the blame for this?
Listen,
I'm not blaming anybody. That's for starters. I'm not blaming anybody. I prefaced my talk last time with the following. Klal Yisrael is amazing. Everyone's doing the best that they can. Compared to the rest of the world, we are incredible. We're doing amazing. That's A. That's A. We're doing great. As a people, we try to be as sensitive as possible. We try to do as best as possible. If we could find in an area right here in this little bubble about high schools and seminaries and rejections, if we see how much damage it's causing for people, not just immediately, but also down the road when it comes to shidduchim for them, I think it's up to us to brainstorm and say, hey, well, how can we fix that?
Okay, there's something that I thought about over the weekend. There's a flip side that you're neglecting to this whole issue.
What's that?
And that is that there's all kinds of kids, whether they're 13 years old going into high school or 18 years old and going into seminary. There's these heads of yeshivas and seminaries that you're talking about. They're under pressure from parents, okay?
Okay.
And it also involves finances to a great degree. So there's two things.
That's really unfortunate, honestly.
There's two things. Number one, you have, and I've read this over the years, you have parents that have influence in a school that say, I want to send my kid to your school, but I'm not if you accept so-and-so. Okay, because they have a certain deficiency that they object to or something like that. And that is blistering type of pressure to be under for a head of a school. You have a donor, doesn't have to be supporting the entire school, but you have someone that's a substantial supporter of a school and tells you that if you accept someone from that and that family that has this and this happening.
You think that's common?
I think it's, none of this is common. Most people get accepted to schools routinely without any kind of obstacle.
Most people?
Yeah.
You think most people get into schools routinely without having to pull any pull?
Yeah.
Any protexia?
Of course they do. Otherwise you have nothing but protexia running the entire system. That's not it. It's the exceptions to the rule. It's exceptions to the natural flow of things that you're talking about, and which is tragic for people. Don't you think? I know we're flip-flopping back to shidduchim again. Most kids, they date, they get married, rather uneventfully, without any great drama. But then again, there's a lot of situations. There are too many situations where there's drama. You're talking about schools that reject everyone. What about, how many singles are girls and boys? How many singles are sitting around waiting for a shidduch and nobody reaches out to them? Nobody cares to read them a shidduch? What are they supposed to do?
How are you drawing the parallel?
Well, they both have elements of rejection in them, and people feeling left out.
I think
people feel left out.
I think there's something in the NFL. No, I'm not going on that. There's something in the NFL when a football player is diving for a catch, diving to catch a ball.
Okay.
And a defenseman or a cornerback or a safety hits him while he's diving for that ball.
Okay.
And he makes contact with his head.
Okay.
It's a flag. It's a personal foul.
Okay.
It's a defenseless receiver. He could not defend himself. There's nothing he could have done about that. When you're going ahead and pulling this rejection card on someone who's coming out of 8th grade, who someone is 13, 14 years old, they are a defenseless receiver. They are not adults. It's not fair to play this game with them. It's not fair to put them through that. So the adults need to figure out. They need to figure out. I know you said rejection is good. It builds character, and I agree with that. I'm
not encouraging it. I'm not encouraging it.
I know, but I think that
it's a reality that exists.
I get it's a reality, but when it comes to people this young, there's enough rejection that they experience throughout life. It doesn't need to be something this traumatizing and this crucial in their life. Not being rejected, being accepted to high school.
But let's clarify. We're not talking about the majority of circumstances.
No, it's never.
We're talking about an unfortunate
majority.
minority of circumstances.
It's never. I think in this circumstance.
You would like to be no situations like that.
I think in this situation that we're talking about, if it's 5 people, it's too many.
Okay, 5 people is a minuscule fraction.
I get it. First of all, it's not 5 people. Second of all, what I'm saying to you is that any amount is too much, and we need to do everything in our power to make it happen. Now, I'm not saying if people are going to say, you know what, there are people that get accepted and they don't want to go to the other school, so they don't go, and then I'm not saying. I personally take an issue. I don't know how often it happens. I don't like when I hear that a girl or a boy receives 3 or 4 rejection letters from high schools. And you know what? There's a video you had mentioned before about people saying that I don't want this. My kid's not going to go to this school. That kid goes to this school. There's 2 people.
That happens more than anything else.
There's 2 people. I don't know about that, but there's 2 people that went to Rav Steinman, and there's a famous video on YouTube. And they went to Rav Steinman with a case of a mother and a father where two adults were getting married. It was their second marriage, and the father's kids were in a specific cheder, and the mother wanted her kids to go to that cheder. Mm-hmm. And they said to Rav Steinman, the kids are a little different, and the other parents are worried. So Rav Steinman said, where do you want the kid to go? You want him to go to the moon? Okay. No, there's other schools. Yeah, but so Rav Steinman said, no, but the mother wants the kid to go to this school.
Right.
One of the people said, yeah, but she's crazy. He said she's crazy because she wants her kid to go to a good school. Do you want your kids to go to a good school? Yeah. Are you crazy? You're not crazy. No, but a parent says it's not the type. So Rav Steinman says, you can quantify it's not the type? How do you quantify it's not the type? He said, a parent knows. That's when Rav Steinman slammed his fist on the table. He said, there's always one that knows. Gaiva. Gaiva. And then said that the guy said to him, no, Rav Steinman, it's a great chashuv younger man.
Yeah.
A great about Gaiva, he said. Yeah. It's a great about Gaiva.
Listen, but that's someone that gets the opportunity to go to Rav Steinman, of course, years ago when he was alive.
Those words should resonate with us, though.
But what do you do today? There's more people, more yeshiva heads and seminary heads being told, I'm not sending my kid to that yeshiva because so and so is in the yeshiva.
Do you really
people
think
that are getting routine rejection letters?
You think so?
Let's see what the people say. What do I know? Let's get a poll going.
Maybe we'll have people reach out to us. But listen, this is us continuing the conversation. Again, we don't have the solutions. Let's
try to develop a solution.
I would like to think for starters, instead of just mailing out rejection letters, and it could be that I think a lot of places already don't just mail out rejection letters. Call the parents up, form a plan. Make sure, listen, you're not going to be left without a place. We're going to make sure you find a place. Will it be the first place they want to send their kid to? It may not be.
Hey, listen, Nachi, I know you know that there's people that that are getting rejection letters right now for summer camp. Okay, yeah. This is summer camp enrollment season, even though it's only November.
There's no space. What are you going to do?
Okay, it's the same thing in the yeshiva.
Should they expand?
What are you going to do?
So a big defense we heard a lot over the weekend was there's no space. So all
right, there is no space.
So what should we do?
All right, but
build.
Yeah, no. So one of the things that we heard was that to get considered by a camp in the summer, you got to send a deposit in, okay? And then you're told there's no room. They don't return your deposit. They say if a position opens up, then we'll let you know. It means if by May or June somebody pulls out, then we'll let you go. Meantime, we're holding on to your $1,000 or $1,200 deposit. So you're out the money, and you don't have any plans for your kids coming this summer, while all their friends or people in the neighborhood or in the community have plans for their kid. So there's this slippery slope. You're looking to achieve perfection.
I'm not looking to achieve perfection,
and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
But you can't expect. I'm not looking to achieve perfection.
That's a good thing to endeavor to achieve. But you're never going to get there.
There's more sensitivity. I'm not like, but we'll close the parentheses on this for now. Maybe we'll revisit it a different time. But there's one thing that I heard that I thought, listen, at the end of the day, when it comes to high school, when it comes to seminary, let's take high school, for example. At the end of the year, most people know probably what? They know March, where they're going next year for high school, April?
Yeah, for sure by then.
But
around, all the tests are now.
Right. So I would tell you there's many, many girls and boys that it's already like June, July, and they're in camp and they don't have a place yet. Okay? They don't have a place yet. And all their friends have a place, or many of their friends have a place. So here's a suggestion. Nobody gets an acceptance letter until everybody gets an acceptance letter. You make sure that everybody has a place before anyone has a place. So if this person did 4 interviews in this community and no one took him yet, instead of doing this whole thing of the schools are not going to open until Yenim finds a place and make Yenim feel like, that kid, nobody gets an acceptance letter.
So you need someone in each community to coordinate that.
Well, we have many Eskanim, and I think that this is a worthy battle to fight. What do you think?
I think it's an ideal thing if you can make it happen, but it'll hopefully reduce the amount of people that have to deal with rejection. But I don't think it's going to eliminate it.
We're never going to be able to eliminate it, and all we could do is do our best. Unfortunately, something that took place as Kyrie Irving made his debut. Debut. He returned from his suspension with the Brooklyn Nets. Is that you had a group of Black Israelites outside the Barclays Center singing ahead of the Kyrie Irving return. What were they singing? They were singing that we are the real Jews. And I'll play a video over here.
Yeah.
King, who's the king? Worldwide, worldwide. Some of us used to be in the club.
And in another video, which I'll play right now, which I have a tweet on it from Joe Paitlin. Just a few blocks away from the largest Jewish community in the United States, Black Hebrew Israelites marched through the streets chanting, "We are the real Jews." If you think the biggest threat to Jews is Trump's return to Twitter, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. Here's the video.
You are the real Jew. You are the real Jew. And that's the good news. And that's the good news. Jacob.
So they're saying, we are the real Jews.
All right, that's an old story. There is a big community of Black Hebrews in Israel.
I guess the Nazis and Hitler made a mistake.
Well, there's an article in today's New York Times about blacks and Jews, and the guy writes, blacks and Jews are in the same boat. We're the largest target of discrimination and hate. So it's best off if we figured out a way to stick together instead of going to this kind of nonsense type of war against one another. And, Kyrie Irving at his after the game news conference yesterday, he said he had no idea anybody was outside. He doesn't want to get into trouble. He doesn't want to be affiliated with that.
Yeah.
There was another player or former player.
Jaylen Brown?
Yeah.
He's a current player. He's a great player.
Yeah,
and
so
he's on the Boston Celtics.
He tweeted something about it, and then he withdrew his tweet because
he backed down quick.
He was stepping into big problems.
I think something that we all can learn from situations like this, and especially in our position here in front of these mics, you got to think before you talk, because once you say something, it's out there forever. Kyrie has put his foot in his mouth many times, and Jaylen Brown put his foot in his mouth last night. And it happens a lot in politics. People just say things without thinking.
I think the smartest thing Kyrie Irving said yesterday after the game was he just wants to focus on playing ball.
That is the smartest thing he said.
Just like someone once said to LeBron James, I forgot who it was, just shut up and dribble.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing though, because that was deemed as very racist.
No, shut up. Which one? Shut up or dribble?
Just to insinuate that you should just play basketball and don't talk about
That's
anything
their
else.
job. That's what they're known for.
So, just because someone's job is something doesn't mean they can't do anything else.
Listen, we've had conversations here about models and singers and rock and roll stars who talk about Donald Trump and about this political candidate and that political candidate. That's not their field. What are they getting involved in something that's not their field?
I disagree with you on that.
Okay. That's good that we disagree.
Yeah.
This would be a very boring show if we didn't disagree.
That is true. And I think that is our show for today. We'll have that's pretty much a lot that happened over the weekend. And obviously today's Monday. So a whole new bevy of stories will happen from now until you hear from us tomorrow morning. But listen, stay tuned to Twitter. Everyone's looking out to see what Donald Trump's first tweet is going to be. Kanye is doing Kanye stuff. Kyrie's back on the court. Chabad Shluchim are traveling back to their respective homes, and the Chabad Shluchos, the Kinnus Hashluchim is coming up pretty soon. Someone asked me, did they have a lady section there? And I said, listen, I don't think the husbands and the wives can leave their families and their communities.
Well, most don't come, but there are some women there. But there's probably
there's no women by the Kinnus Hashluchim.
I've seen. I
was there last night. Maybe there was two waiters that were women. Besides for that, there's absolutely none.
Yeah, I'd like to. I wish you would have gone into the kitchen and see how they serve 6,500 people.
By the way, the food was incredible. So shout out to them. Shout out to my friends at 302 at Mercos. for inviting me. Mendy Kalarski, Avi.
Merkas Leonyoni Chinuch.
Yeah.
That's 770 and that big that group photo.
Yeah.
Those thousands of people. Someone asked me yesterday, how do they get a picture like that? How do they get a lens like that? How far away do you have to shoot that picture from?
Technology nowadays, you can do anything, and
it's quite amazing. It was an amazing weekend, and it's good to be back in the saddle here.
Absolutely. Of course, you can go ahead and follow us on WhatsApp. Our status is booming. We have a few thousand subscribers already, so go ahead and click the link in the description, in the show notes. Sign up for our WhatsApp status. If you have any feedback and you don't have WhatsApp, you can go ahead and message us. You can send us an email at thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. Of course, we'll be back with another episode tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday. Maybe Friday? Probably not. Anyways, we will see you tomorrow.
Okay.